Okay, so we're going to take a look at Monique's game, do some analysis. I'm going to pull it from chess.com and then plug it into Lead Chess because I like the Lead Chess studies. Okay, very easy to use. So we have your profile, Le Beau Mieux. How do you say it? Le Beau Mieux? The handsome cat. How do you pronounce it? Le Beau Mieux?
Yes, Le Beau Miaou.
Le Beau
Le
Mieux.
Le boom yo.
Le Beau
Boom.
Miaou.
Le boom meal.
Yes.
Le
So we have, and Monique is from
Mieux.
France originally. So, okay, Monique, I remember you told it Le Bourtenay or something, one of the early 1800s, one of the best players in the world, Le Bourtenay, something, right?
Right, yeah. There was
So,
another
okay,
question.
which game are we looking at?
Okay, go back to May 8th,
May 8th, okay.
and the name starts with ED. Ed.
What I need to do is I need to click on all your completed games. So to go back, okay, May 8th, there we are.
May 8th, and
it starts with
ED. Let's see.
Oh, there he is. Right up.
Yes, oh, just here.
One
1,
up.
2, 3, 4. EDJIAL.
There we go, from Mexico. Got Mexico, okay. Oh, you had 90. Oh, right, you had 94% accuracy.
That's nice.
And you were wondering, okay, why did I play so well? No, why does it say I
Well,
played so well?
No, but
Well-
you know, David, yeah, I'm glad that you are willing to look at this because I mean I played well, but to me 2000 is like wow, you know, it's like I don't know. I was just very impressed by the rating that the computer gave me, and I'm curious
Mhm.
about what you think. All of
Yeah,
you.
let's see. So we go to share, just to see how to pull it real quick. Just go to share, and then we can simply, I'll just go ahead. Well, actually, we can.
You could do the fan, or you could just cut and paste it. I think.
Yeah, I'll just copy and paste the whole thing, and then, and yeah, the FEN thing is the nice thing about that is you can go ahead and you can start from a particular position like halfway through as well, from a puzzle or something. Okay, so here we create a study. You go to learn, create study on Lead Chess, and I'll just call this May. I'll just say 5, 13, 23, adults. Say adults class game analysis. Need to work on my typing. Okay, so the public, okay, start, and then okay, so I'll say Monique, first game, and you guys, I can actually add you. Oh, later if you want, or I could, either way. You have white or black?
Looks
I
like
was
she had white
white.
there.
You had white?
Yeah, I'm almost
this-
positive
yeah,
I was
The
right.
orientation white, and we're going to go PGN and simply paste, and should be there now. Create chapter, and we have your game.
That's a great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, I'll home in on that. So, okay. So, oh, and I'll get should see your name as well. There we go. Okay. And yeah, what I can do is I can add you. And what's your username? Or if you want, is it okay if well, it's up to you if I have your username and it's not that private or something. I can put it on here or just do it later. You want me to
My
add it to
username is
member?
Le Beau Miaou.
Oh, it's the same one on Lead Chess.
Yes.
This one, got it. Okay, cool. So you're added. So you can
Sorry,
contribute as well. And
guys.
what I'm going to do as we go through it, I'm going to show how to, use the tools a bit. We've done this once before, at least I think, but it's always useful to look at the tools on Lead Chess. Nice dashboard. So we'll go through it. We'll see why it is that the computer thinks you played at a 2000 level. Now, sometimes it thinks you played incredibly well. So for example, to give like 99%, because you just, maybe your opponent made some mistakes and you just exploited them. For example, if they get mated in 6 moves, they're like, well, you made all the right moves, you exploited their blunders, you made them, okay, 99%, right? But this is a 17-move game, which means you had to maintain the accuracy. So let's take a look. So E4, E5. Now the engine, and now I'm going to take off this actually, so I don't get too distracted by the engine. And you can use that as I use it more as a supplement or to ask it questions like, is that the best line? Or, was this a mistake? Let me see what the improvements are. Maybe have 2 or 3 lines going, because you can go down here and you can say multiple. So when I do use it, we can have 3 lines that it will use. I could probably make the memory, a little more than that. So it'll have more. Okay, I'm not sure why it has choose. I don't know how that works. Just 1 CPU. Okay. So knight F3. See, now it has 3 arrows. You see the biggest arrow is the one that it suggests is the strongest. So it's just quick. It's just a quick thing to get a quick, take a quick glance at what it thinks is the best. So we have an Italian game, bishop C4, knight F6, D3. Okay, very solid. I like it. We've looked at this before with D3 and knight BD2, knight F1. Remember that the concept, a nice advanced concept that GMs will do.
Yes.
They even do this sometimes. I've seen Carlsen games where he will not even castle yet. And that way we deal with the pin because the knight covers h5 and we could play h3. So we have this idea. It doesn't look like you did it in this game, but well, that's because they're trying to throw you off with the early d5. Now this seems very aggressive. It is, but it's often premature because why do you guys think it is premature? I mean, you could certainly take and they take back and they have more space in the center for now. But why do you think it's maybe premature? Go ahead here. Why do you think it might be premature for them to play d5? I mean, it's playable, but still, you have to be careful. Why do you think that is? That black has to be.
Because he's giving up a piece for almost just a pawn.
No, he's not losing it yet because it's secured.
Well, the e5 pawn is a little bit in danger.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Well, but Lynn, it is loose, you know, the knight's loose. So it's like an a fried liver attack. That knight comes under. The king has to get pulled out to e6, and the knight comes under fire, I think, by the queen, and everything try to win the knight back. But here, the knight is only guarded. Well, it's attacked once and guarded once, so it's a loose piece. If it's attacked no times and guarded no times, then it's still loose. As long as it's attacked the same times as it's defended, well, you pull away one defender or add an attacker, and it can fall on the spot. So it's loose, right? And e5 is loose. It's defended once, it's attacked once. So let's say maybe you can play queen e2 or castle and play rook e1, and the pawn will come under fire on the e file. So this is loose. Yeah, it's a loose position. So it's probably not the most. And this is where you might check just out of curiosity. Probably it likes white a bit. It says plus 0.6, meaning a slight edge. It likes it. Thinks that, yeah, slight edge for white. Now winning might be like +2 to +3 range, like +2.5, +3 thinks it's winning. I was actually talking with my student about this earlier. Like kind of +1 to +2 is like an edge, like +1's an edge. And then as you get to +2, it's like decisive, like very strong advantage, but not even winning it necessarily. Because you could be like up a pawn with a nice position, it might say +1.5 or more, but just because you're up a pawn, like maybe they'll win the pawn back or get compensation. So again, that's based on computer moves for like 20, 10, 20, 30 moves ahead, right? So take it with a grain of salt. So it makes you understand why it's saying what it's saying. And that's what we're trying to do here, Monique, right? Understand why is it giving this evaluate? Well, overall evaluation of your game, it's rating your game effectively and saying you are rated 2000, at least in this game. So we'll see why. Rook e1. Now I would certainly consider taking it because you'd open up the file, but then again, you immediately strike. I like this a lot, actually. So that's probably why it's so accurate, because taking first is interesting because you'll open up the e file. And feel free to chime in, guys, anytime you're wondering what's going on. Or, but yeah, if or you have any ideas. But I think, yeah, takes. It gives up the bishop pair. And after rook e1, the question is, do they have an effective block? I think they might have bishop e7 and they castle right away. Queen e2.
Right, and I don't like to take the knight sometimes because then I have this pawn on f4 that is unsightly.
For
See,
you or for your opponent, for the unsightly that you have to deal with this pawn?
Yeah, I don't like that. How would you deal with that pawn?
Well, it's more, the reason I look at it is because it opens the e file, kind of toss the pawn aside, kind of like in a king's gambit, you know, e4, e5, f4, although you haven't committed to f4 to weaken your position. You haven't weakened your position, and they would take to, you just toss it, kind of cast it aside and be able to get on the e file. Well, it's worth looking at, but it seems to me that they escape just in time. Now, if you can pin the bishop and leave him there, make him stay in the center, that would be great. But unfortunately, they castle and the knight still guards just in time. So you'd have to try to undermine, like if you're on b5, yeah, absolutely, because you can take the knight and win the bishop now. But because the knight's secure and it's guarding e7, black is fine, and they have a nice bishop pair too. So you want to, and yeah, the pawn could either be weak or strong. It's giving them a little space. It's kind of funny. It does relate to a king's gambit, but again, white didn't have to play a force. They haven't weakened that diagonal and so forth. But yeah, you know, bishop comes out and they're going to have a bishop pair and the rook's going to come out. So probably black is fine in this case. But you see why I'm looking at it, Monique, in terms of opening the file. But I think no, I think yours is better. Now that we look at it, I think you get an exclamation mark, I'd say, because you're not doing that. You're making, I think, the correct move. Well, it's directly attacking e5 twice, depending on what. So that's where we see the weakness. They have to deal with it, and you're threatening to take on f4. So I think they might be kind of collapsing. So probably not f4 is a bad move, if not a blunder. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give that at least a question mark. We can see because we're going to verify, but I'm pretty sure this is sort of collapsing now because you're threatening e5. You're threatening bishop takes f4 to exploit the pin, right? So you might be, we're gonna, again, I'm not even gonna use the computer. You can if you want, but the computer can confuse sometimes, you know? So, okay, reasonable attempt. It's losing though. Yeah, it's losing. Why is it? Okay, I'm gonna block the moves. Why do you guys, oh, there it is. I'm gonna block it. Why do you guys think this is losing for black? As someone other than Monique, since you already know. White to play and win.
Bishop takes knight.
It's pinned, yeah. Since, well, you were threatening to take it. What they were fixated on you taking the pawn, but they forgot, they didn't notice that the bishop takes f4. So you have two threats simultaneously. They can't just, I just think they can't deal with it. Well, they had to give up the e-pawn somehow. They had to do some damage control and say, okay, fine, I messed up. This move is just not necessary. I mean, what's their improvement? Probably develop the bishop, right? Just, I feel like they're going to have to lose this pawn. I don't know. And that's where you, again, you could verify with the computer, but I just don't see, this is very loose. Oh, maybe the bishop pinned first. How about that? First to the bishop pin, and then they try and get out of there and castle queenside or something like that soon. But I still think, yeah, we've seen this being refuted by Monique. Very nice job, because it's just very, you know, quick, but this is too slow. So you quickly exploit e5, and that's way too slow. You're getting there first. And then they go here, they're pinning your knight, but unfortunately, now you're winning. So you've made all the correct moves, it looks like, in order to collapse their position. You win a pawn, this is collapsing. So you have a winning position now. So we can already say confidently that you have plus minus, white is winning, because you're up a clean piece. Just watch out for your bishop, but they're not getting it anytime soon. If you need to, you retreat, but you probably win the e-pawn too. Want to play f6, they weaken their position, and you just keep going. Just keep attacking. Maybe knight starts to come in and all that good stuff. Maybe later you get a d4 break. Yeah, but you'll be aiming in here too. So very dangerous for them. Okay. So you're up a piece, they go here. And you just take it and you win more material. Very good. So, I mean, this should be an exclamation mark because it's a winning move. It's direct, but you still had to find it. Okay. Very clean. Yeah. When in doubt, develop. You can't go wrong with that move. You secure the other knight. And again, you can do the knight f1 thing. I might even consider like pawn c3 to bring your queen out to b3 or something. Because the bishop secures d3. So, because that way now that you know, not now, but after knight bd2. Because now you're developing. I mean, first develop your knight, right? I wouldn't play yet. First knight bd2, and then c3, then maybe queen out. But no matter what, you're good to play h3. You can play knight f1 to g3, then h3. You can play c3, queen b3, and connect your rooks. Everything's great here. You're just up a piece and a pawn. What's that?
David, I have a question for you. When you said to move the c pawn to c3 and then move the queen to b3, correct? Is that what you said?
Something like, yeah, at least I would consider.
So my question,
maybe even b4 first, you know, maybe.
So my question to you is that I used to think about doing this and then I stopped because I thought his knight from c6 can actually come here and fork the queen and the bishop.
Yeah, I just thought about that as well when I thought you were questioning it. Yeah. Then maybe that's, well, the thing about this position is it doesn't really matter, because if he wants to take, he's wasting time. And also he's trading pieces, or whoever they are, they're trading pieces, and they shouldn't do that because they're down a clean. They're down 4 points, piece and a pawn. So that's pretty much why. But yeah, generally speaking, I agree. Sometimes you might go c3 and then b4 with tempo. Try to win the bishop, you know, start pushing your pawns. Let's say they stop you. Yeah, you could push this one, you could steamroll them. So for example, let's see what do they do? They took, oh, that's great. Okay, that's just not a good plan because, well, they're trying to trick you now. Well, now let's look into this move. This seems fine. We'll look into the best response to this move. They're trying to get your f pawn. Even there wouldn't be disastrous because you can move your king and you won't get mated, but obviously you don't need to give them that, which you didn't. Yeah, their plan to trade pieces just helps you. It's just moving towards an endgame when you're up a piece, right? So that's going to be a losing endgame or late middle game, and just kind of attack. You either, when you have an extra piece, you either use your extra force to attack them, or you trade down and you simplify literally simplify like a map. Well, yeah, and the ratio is the ratio is increasing, right? The ratio just increases. So it's no, not quite like math, right, Monique? But yeah, it's it would be in terms of not exactly the definition simplification, but for example, if you look at it like 9 to 10 ratio versus 7 to 8, and moving down to 3 to 4 and 1 to 2, so then you have 50% more, right? Yeah, 50%. Yeah, every time the numbers go down, you have this preponderance of force. Your force increases by some factor, right? Monique, you could probably tell us exactly how it works as a mathematician, but yeah, but that makes sense, right? If you have an army of 99 against 100, for example, that's not a huge, really material difference. You might notice it, but if you have an army of 1 against 2, okay, you're probably going to feel the impact because you have twice as much force as them, right? So yeah, so simplification, just you're distilling it, right? And you get extra force that you can really feel in the end game. And ideally, you just get down to your final knight versus no pieces. And of course, you need some pawns. The knight will usher in the pawns or win more pawns with your greater force. But yeah, now it's done. You just need to watch out for counterplay. Oh yeah, now I just wanted to show you a sample line though. So for example, where were we? Like right around here. You see they took, but let's say they did something else like here. And this C3 move that I mentioned as a possibility. And let's say they wait, they do some natural move. And then queen, now, yeah, you could, if you go queen B3, true Monique, knight A5, somewhat annoying. So how about B4 now? And then if you want, you could play queen B3, or you can do A4, A5, B5. Oh, my bad, I'm sorry. This is a bad sample line because the bishop's hanging. It's complicated. You don't need that. Okay, wait, sorry. So let's do, well, when it goes here, fine, let's just move the bishop back. Let's just stay solid. And now, we can trade, but you can trade rooks, that's fine to go here. So something like this, right? You see what I mean? Here, let's go B5, knight retreats somewhere, and then queen B3, and now they're threatening this. And once you get something like this, your position looks great, right? You're getting off the pin, everything's beautifully placed. Maybe the other rook comes in, or maybe you like double rooks or something like that. 95 is coming next, and that's going to collapse. Very difficult to hold that point. Say bishop comes back to defend it. Here comes another one. And now it's bad, right? A lot of pressure. Let's go queen F5 or something. But yeah, you can just see this is an example of using your extra force. So yeah, I have to get the right, I have to get a decent sample line just to show you how it might go. And so we have, and it's been saved in our analysis. We had so not this line. So after the rook E8 line, not B4. So I delete that one. But a reasonable sample line is something like this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, but you can do queen B3, but there's no need. Yeah, as you said, no need to allow 95. Okay, so bishop takes. So I would say this is a dubious move. I mean, it's not like it's losing or something. I mean, they're already losing, but I would say dubious. It's just completely unnecessary, and it's moving them closer to losing endgame.
He's just helping.
What's that? Yeah,
This is helping.
yeah. One of my friends called it a friendly move. It's a friendly move in attack. Yeah, he just described it to a kid like that, but I like the description. Okay, you just play real solid. You're maintaining your advantage, and again, we're simplification. And the trick is, very nice. I like what you did, because first of all, you're guarding F2, noticing the threat. But then when they go H5, you just go here and you're blocking the threat. And now you have no worries. I guess they could take the B2 pawn, but then you go, if they take the B2 pawn, they went here. Oh, now they want to mate you coming. Well, they're not going to mate you, but they're trying to do something over there. Even if they got in again, you still run.
And that was their mistake, because my next move is actually a good move.
Oh, nice and clean, nice and clean. So when you move your knight back, oh, that's sneaky. When you move your knight back, you have a discover. So you obstruct their line and you unleash your queen. So it's simultaneously discovered attack and obstruction for defense. Defense, perfect. So here's what I would write. So for example, as a note, I'd say, because it's useful to remember what you did here, that this is a perfect example of blending attack with defense, right? Just a little explanation. Probably can give a little more explanation on certain points, but just gives you a sense how you can use it qualitatively to remind yourself. And you can write down your lessons. Like well, here the thing is, you didn't really have nothing that you did wrong to really remind yourself of. Just keep doing what you're doing right. Exclamation mark. And now it's really done. Again, I could say plus minus again. Well, now it's really just, no doubt about it. Because previously you're winning, but you still have, there's still a lot of murkiness on the board. So you are theoretically, of course, winning, and computer says +7. Okay. But and yeah, when I said it there, it stamped it. See, it stamps it at +7 for you. But again, we're not over relying on the computer. So yeah, this is nice. And then
And
Oh
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
de
and then you
grâce.
have another nice move, exclamation mark again. That's why you have such a high rating on this game, because you just played very cleanly. You didn't miss anything. You exploited all the tact. Oh, Monique, you said something?
No, I
Oh,
just totally agree.
this was the coup de grâce.
Yeah.
This
And,
move,
and,
the
and
knight.
this is a nice finish as well, if they go like that,
Ouch.
because the pin, see,
Mm-hmm.
the pin would enable that. So yeah, that's done if they do that as well. So they play bishop c5. Oh, they still really want your pawn, don't they?
That's all they care
Oh
about.
wait, uh-oh, they want your pawn, but you want their queen.
But you
Right.
were queen.
I didn't, yeah.
And they made a
yeah.
mistake. So that's my question, David, that they lost the queen. So why did I play so well when they made such a blunder?
Well, I mean, you certainly can't play any better than taking their queen. Right?
Right.
So, there's nothing that, well, if they keep hanging pieces and you take every piece, well, since you can't do any better than that, you're getting 100%, right? If your opponent blunders every move. So for example, if they fall for the 2-move checkmate, well, you've played 100% because you've done the best you can do.
Right.
Right, David, but what I mean, maybe I'm mistaken, but in my mind is if somebody else makes a big blunder, I don't feel that I played so well. So maybe that's the way I see it, because I'm
Like you want
thinking,
to
well,
earn it. You're like, you didn't make me earn it. You were too easy.
Yeah, she wants to earn it, but
Yeah.
Monique, if it's sitting right there for you to take it, and therefore it does boost your rating, because you had a vision to see that when they probably didn't.
Right. Like imagine the grade that it would give you if you didn't take the queen. It would
Yes.
probably give you
Right.
like 60.
Yes. Yeah, that would be a missed win. And then it would,
Yeah.
so and the way it does it is it'll be, so really the way it works is, okay, it views this. Let's see, what's the center? Right now it says +8.
Yeah.
So 800 centipons. So if you make
That's
if you
when-
don't take it and you're +5, so you just lost 300. You did a move that was, as it views it, 300 centipons worse. That would affect your average centipon loss. And effectively the percentages are new. At least, no, just a comment done that always for as long as the game analysis was around, several years. But Lichess would use centipon loss, which is, I guess, more obscure. So they would then they converted it as an additionally, you can look
I
at as a
still don't
supplement.
understand centipon
percentage.
loss. I don't get it. What does it mean?
Well, the computer thinks in zeros and ones, right? So it gives you so basically, okay, so centipon or 1, like +1 is 100 centipon. So it's kind of like how they do basis points, which is kind of weird, right? Oh, the Fed raised it 50 basis points, which is 0.5%, right? But yeah, so just to be precise, right? To make it easier, I guess, for colloquially. But so let's say it's 100 centipon loss, right? That's, you're making a move that's viewed as 1 pawn worse than the computer. Now the question is, how do you value a pawn, right?
Right.
But so like, but yeah, it's centipon loss is how much worse your move was than what the computer sees as the best move. Well, based on how much time you gave it to process, right? Now, if you give it more time to process, it'll try to give you its very best move. But let's say you do a quick run through, maybe it's operating at like, I don't know, 80 something percent or whatever, of its best, 70, 80%, or yeah, let's say 80 at least probably. And then if you give it a little more time, it's going to refine its lines, the murkiest lines, right? Because even the murkiest lines, the computer doesn't always know for sure, right? Maybe if you give it infinite time, maybe, right? But it has to refine still. So anyway, but after it's whatever amount of time you give it, so it thinks that you should be, okay, it thinks that you should be 3 points ahead, as if that you should be a piece ahead. Well, actually nowadays it says even more than that, but let's say purely a piece ahead. That would be 3 points or 300 centipons. Now, if you make a move that doesn't win the piece, it just keeps it equal, then you made a 0 centipon gain. So then you had 300 centipon loss, and then average centipon loss, well, that's going to pull down your average a lot. But if every move you made a move that's 300 points worse than the computer, 3 pawns worse, then it's yeah, does that make sense? But that'll
Yes.
put on your, yeah, maybe in general you make a move that's like 50 centipon. So a lot of people might get like 50 to like 80 centipon loss, like an intermediate player might get like 80 centipon loss, 100
Right.
centipon loss. So that means on average you made a move that's 1 pawn. It's like you're losing a pawn every move, but based on the but see, that's the thing. Now how does it value? Again, it's using zeros and ones. So what does it view as a pawn? Well, they become better at being more abstract with the neural network that they use now. And I heard a very, I don't know, I did not like that definition of NPR that I heard when they were talking about art, AI art. But anyway, from what I understand, it's like mimicking a human brain with the neurons, right? How a human brain, that's sort of from what I understand. If anyone knows better, but basically the neural network, it allows it to be more spatial and intuitive and so forth. But yeah, so it basically they're much better now, like beginning with AlphaZero in like 2017. So anyway, yeah, so it's trying to value it. It's kind of like we were talking about early with companies, right? It's like, well, there's a difference between pure accounting and what something is worth. What you know, right? Book value versus what you actually think it's worth, valuation. So it's more abstract than that. You're looking into the future, you're looking at intangible assets. Same thing with a chessboard. So it's trying to, it's pretty complex, right? They didn't used to do that. So early computers, they're looking at winning pieces and checkmating, basically. Maybe, oh, maybe the file is worth something if you control a file or have an outpost, but barely that. It's just doing pure calculation. But nowadays they become way more abstract. So +1, maybe it values the bishop pair at +0.3. If it's a good bishop, if the bishop pair is strong, or like doubled pawns might be like, you gave them double pawns, okay, +0.4. Because you can try to attack them in the long term. Maybe good double pawns, open line, +0.3, so it does things like that. But it's obviously just like a human, it's trying to be intuitive, just with an incredible amount of computing power, but it's intuition, essentially. So it can't know everything. It really can't. Some people think it can, but I really I would make an argument that it doesn't, especially in complex positions. Because unless it had an infinite amount of time with perfect computing power. Maybe, but otherwise chess is that complicated that it will change its mind sometimes. Or maybe it looks like it's a draw. Maybe it thinks in 50 moves it's a draw, but this tiniest nuance, 30 moves later, it'd be like, oh, never mind. There's a slight chance of winning or something like that.
You've seen that before, right? Like an analysis where all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you're losing. No, you're winning. Wait, and it goes back and forth. Like it's, I've had that happen a lot on like chess.com, like on I know their computer's not great, but it'll just say all of a sudden the move is winning, and then you make the move like when you play it out and it's like, nope, it's not. Or
exactly. And that's based on how much time it has to process. Well, that means it's clearly an ambiguous situation where the computer's conflicted somehow, but it's also that it doesn't have, well, you give it 10 more seconds, that's all it needs, right? To give it a few more seconds, then it realizes, but even then it might oscillate, might waffle around there, right?
Yeah, then it just boots me because it's like had enough, or my phone had enough.
Yeah, and that's what I just did down here. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it depends on my RAM, I guess, on my RAM here. So I did one. I'm not sure why I don't understand all this, why it has 2 CPUs or whatever. But if you connect multiple computers, I suppose, like with AlphaZero. But yeah, I think you can use one, and then you can have 3 lines. It's showing 3 arrows.
I love the 3 lines. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, you can do that. And then memory, my computer's not that powerful, so probably if I put it on 256, it'll probably drain. My computer would heat up a lot. That's local analysis. And then there's like cloud analysis versus local. Anyway, it's complicated, but yeah, I'd say if you put it like a little bit up, maybe 1 CPU, and then the 3 lines, I like that because the computer doesn't always, like, for example, queen e5, a rook e5 versus queen takes b2. See, 10.1, 11.9. Well, if it's like 10, well, it's almost the same. 10.1, 10.5 or something. There's no real material difference there. And that's just and again, it's depth of 21. You got to let it keep going and going and going, right? So, but it's useful from a human perspective because you're like, wait, why does it say this move? It's like, oh, okay, there's not a huge difference between the first and second. And the second move makes more sense to me. So I'm going to go with the second move, and that's completely, and verifies. Because otherwise you're like, I don't like chess.com, it'll give you one move that it thinks. So this is more, it's like using an Android versus an Apple or something, where an iPhone, where you have it's more, more options sort of. You can tweak it more, but you can look under the hood a little bit, but it's more complicated, right? So yeah, it just depends on what computer language you want to use or something like that, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, but yeah, it's a little more advanced, but it's actually, in a way, it's actually better. And you can do sample lines too. You can literally see on the thumbnail on the right, or the hand nail, I guess it's kind of not too small, but you can see, you can just flip through. You can click on the top move also. This will give you a sample line. Again, it doesn't mean that it's like, it doesn't have to be that way, but it just gives you a sense. Like, oh, I looked through that. And again, you should ask questions, just like you should do in a game. Wait, is that one better? we'll look at the calculation tree. Let me look at 2 options. Let me look at 3 options, 3 responses to my counter, things like that. I actually just saw Jennifer Shahadi has a TED talk. I saw she has a TED talk. So she's kind of talking about that, on how the human brain works, understanding chess and calculation and so forth.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. That's
Yeah, check out. It's only 10
exciting.
minutes. Yeah, it's just 10 minutes. Or I think she's done at least one. Yeah, but she gives a lot of speeches and stuff. So
Yeah.
all right. So there's that game. So does that make sense as to why? Now maybe you didn't have to work as hard to take the queen, but again, it's average. So the average, so it's doing average cent upon loss, which we'll look at actually. And then it's converting that somehow to a percentage. And okay, it's all very, again, valuing anything beyond pure, a knight is, well, even think of it like this, even you say a knight is worth 3 points, but a lot of times you'll be up a knight, the computer says +5 or something. It's all about, so how you value it, like you say a knight versus a bishop. Some people say the bishop is worth slightly more, not necessarily, maybe because the bishop pair is valuable usually. But yeah, everything in chess is kind of right, unless you're in checkmate or you have a checkmate, everything is a little rough, right? A little blurry, which makes it such, and that's why it's such a fascinating game, at least to me. And the knights look cool and stuff, more interesting than checker pieces aesthetically, but it's just so complex, right? And if even the computer has such a hard time mastering, and not to mention a human throughout the course of their life, you could say you're a master, but you haven't fully mastered. I don't know what you consider mastery, but you don't know everything all the time, right? So yeah, so it's always a challenge,
This
And
is
you
like
know,
a
David-
perfect game.
And
This is
David,
perfect.
when my opponent moved the bishop by mistake to c5, I was pondering about like, why did he make this mistake? And what came to my mind is that he was focusing on my f2 point from the beginning, right? So when my
Yes.
knight was protecting that pawn, because my knight initially was on g4,
Yes.
then they said, okay, it doesn't work because they have 2 on that pawn, right? So they moved the bishop, and then they didn't realize when I moved my knight to e3 to block. So I moved my right. So what happened at this point? Yeah, they didn't realize that. They said, oh, the knight is gone. Let's move my bishop back.
Yeah.
I think that's where the mistake was made. But I was trying to figure out, like, instead of focusing on, oh, I'm being attacked. Some people, and I do that too, some people forget that in chess, and that's where the beauty is and the difficulty, is that you have to think about defense and attack.
Yeah, and this is definitely, and this is an example. Even if they were someone who tends to look at defense, they were fixated clearly on f2, and they were already lost. So it's kind of like, hey, Hail Mary, like shot in the dark kind of thing. It's like, but yeah, and also in terms of fixation, what I would think anyway, if I'm playing from black, just as a quick glance, what happens sometimes, what you'll do, a couple of things going on as well, that the knight is trying to attack, like, oh, phew, it's not doing anything yet. So you think of it in terms of, should I be afraid of the knight? Say, I'm looking here, I'm looking forward. Okay, I'm good. I'm not getting mated. I could do what I want. And so you're not focusing, and you're fixated here, second. And third, there's the backward knight movement. A lot of people miss that backward knight movement, that it could defend backwards. I don't know. It's just like aesthetically, sort of geometrically. Also, sometimes the knight on the back rank, they don't notice the knight could do something like, oh, the knight's just sitting on b1. What can it do? And they forget about it, right? So, or then a knight on c3 can, so there's just certain vision pitfalls you can have and so forth. Bias.
That's why I think it's important to keep at least one knight on the board, through as long as you can.
To throw them off.
Yeah, because the knight has the ability, like you said, a backwards move, and some people just looking forward.
Yeah,
The knight has the ability to go backwards, sideways, and all the way around the board. So that's why I would like personally to keep a knight on the board. And this is a good example of play.
Absolutely.
Very tricky night.
Yes, and on the
interestingly-
5th rank too. On the 5th rank, I remember that was something that David was saying always. The knight belong on the 5th, and the tower on the 7th. So I kind of learned that.
Wait, what about the 7th? Not as good on the 7th?
The rooks.
Oh, yes. And
said
interestingly,
tower because
knight
in French
interestingly
it's
is
two.
generally not as good. It's kind of like I say, generally speaking, a knight in the rim is dim. Sometimes it's good, like a knight, for example, maybe you want to go to h6. No, interesting. Yeah, there's another way too in this position. But yeah, 6th rank is known as like the ideal for the knight. But 5th is great. Even 4th is great sometimes. Like no, E4 would look at so many things. But sometimes if you're on the 7th or 8th, you don't want to go there unless you're a rook. Rook 7th or 8th, maybe, or 2nd, or yeah, generally because you cut off the king and you eat all the hogs are eating up. And I remember I forgot I didn't know about the term. Remember blind swine, Nikki? You know, I thought about it. Why is it called a blind swine? I was looking at it with my class. I'm like, oh, because they're bumping against the edge. Because it's like they're just like pigs and they're like and they're just
Oh,
like bumping each other and then they bump into the edge and like bumper cars and they end up checking like, oh cool, it's checkmate. I think that's why they call
I
it.
think so too. No, yeah.
They're just like, I just want to eat. Let me
Yeah, I'm
just
just eating. Bum, bum,
yeah.
bum, bum,
Oh,
bum.
cool. Now it's checkmate. You know, she works kind of. Anyway, okay, there's your game. So does that make, do you have a little more clarification on why, again, apart from this one move, that just gives you, continues with the theme, but you just made a lot of accurate moves and you certainly could have, in the past, you certainly could have blown it. You know, you could have given it away and you didn't, right?
Right, but at the same time, like in the whole game, what I noticed at the end, and like just here, let's see. Yes, at this point,
Yeah.
one more when they move the bishop, and then I move my knight.
The
So
first one here,
right,
which
and then
just
yes,
done.
please go-
and right
yes,
here.
okay, yes, and the knight goes on f5. Okay, I have a question. When I look at the game, really, in a sense, now what I do, I'm thinking, look, they have the 2 rooks, the queen and the bishop, you know, placed well. I mean, not until my knight came in, but you know, my rook that is worth 5 points have not done anything. So in a way, even though they have less material, I have 5 points that are not really doing anything, and that has been something that I often was wondering, how can I get this rook out earlier in the game? Often it's just stuck there. And then at this point, I think they had still a good game. They could have, I mean, you know, then they could have taken my pawn, then, you know, I have to figure out what to do with my rook. I mean, they were not in my mind in a bad position until they made this bad move.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm
So in
looking
other
at-
words, like they can still fight a little bit. Oh, you know what I was gonna say? There's something kind of cool. You can play knight h4 and utilizing that pin again to exploit that. You can go knight g6 and mate them in the corner. You need a couple moves. That's one thing. But number 2 is, yeah, at least they have a little counterplay here. Well, better than bishop c5 by many, by 1,000 centipawns. Or
Yes.
but yeah, they can fight for a little bit. But here's the thing about the rook. It is serving a function, which is that it's connected with the other rook. So you're not going to get mated, right? So if the bishop's if the knight's in the way, you're going to get mated right now, right? If you don't, or you do take and you give them the file. So at the very least, well, just like their rook happens to be guarding f7, just like your knight was dealing with f2. Interestingly, though, like I said, even if they take, you play king h1, you're still winning, right? They don't have like queen g1 and smothered mate or something. But yes, that's another matter. But and you also have knight h6 ideas later, hit f7. But the thing is, yeah, this rook happens to guard f7 as a purely defensive function. It also gets in the way of the king sometimes. It just like yours, it's guarding the other rook. So it may as well be on a8 as well. So these rooks almost cancel out if you think about it. And it will come out later, 1. And 2, it's connecting with the other rook, so it can help control. And 3, it can come out soon enough.
So David, what about
and 4, you use all the other pieces that are out. You're still overpowering them with those pieces, but it will come out soon, Monique. It's ready to go.
So
It's
David,
ready to
and
connect.
bringing out the rook, what I mean, I'm looking at, okay, you can eliminate the other rook, and then the other rook would have to move over, and he can't guard f7 anymore.
Oh, there you go. So,
You know.
so actually, you're threatening to take. Oh, that's a great idea. I didn't think about that. Interestingly, you could win by taking the rook. They take f2. You move your king. They've got nothing else. They go here. Then you take f7. Check.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
win. Oh, I didn't think about that. Well, everything is
Right.
winning, but no. And for that purpose, I bet it was your best move. I think it's your best move.
Yeah, you did a really
Well,
good.
there goes the computer making you feel bad and playing. Like,
No.
no. Knight f5's coming. I bet you knight f5.
You did
The cream
good.
will rise to the
Look.
top. See, I'm saying, see, The cream will rise to the top. It likes knight g4, but I do like knight. It's see, you're not +9, +10, but I bet you it'll even like it. Give it some time. I think it will like it even more. But no, see, at first it didn't look at it. Now it starts looking at it, and then it moves up. Okay, fine. It's third. It's the exact same now as second choice. Nope, back to second again. So you see, it doesn't really matter. But I think it's the best move, practically speaking. And you do have that threat. But do you understand what I mean about just the fact that it's connected with the other rook provides a lot of value. Now you can say, oh, it's on D1, but it doesn't need to be on D1. And besides, if you trade it later, your second rook will come immediately. But this these are both the same value. Now, if they're using your rooks, their rooks, and you're not using yours, that's different. But they sort of cancel each other out. And in the meantime, you have 4 activated pieces. They only have 3, and there's your extra piece at work. Plus you have the extra H pawn. So, and the extra D pawn. And a safe king. Therefore, they say giving you +11, you know. But so in other words, +11 is moot. +8, +11, +15, completely win. Just an easier win, possibly.
Well, I like to see how she finished the win, David.
Oh no, that's it. They resigned.
Oh,
They
they were. Oh,
Well,
okay.
you can just imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh, there
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. There must be a very quick win. I mean, let's just do your move. I like your move. Takes, check. Oh wait, they're not gonna. Okay, they'll at least not get taken with check, possibly. We're probably gonna mate them in a few moves. Or how about now? There you go. You don't need the rook. We just mate.
Right.
Because I was fixing. See, there you go. I was fixed because my initial
I would
idea.
have taken the rook.
My initial idea, but that's a good lesson though. You have an earlier idea, but every time you reach a new position, you should reevaluate.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I'm
Right.
trying to mate. Obviously, I'm trying to mate. But if I could do that and win later, but I want to win now. The other thing is whenever you're looking, every time you look at a calculation tree, same idea, most forcing move. You look at your most forcing move now. On the second branch, you know, they make a move on your second move. Well, you consider the most forcing move for them. Then you look at the most forcing move for you. But also you do that first, but also whenever you get there, you don't just say, oh, boom, 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 because I'm looking, unless you know it's a mate. But even then, every move you make that you had previously calculated, when it manifests itself on the board, you should still reevaluate. Because you might, yeah, we're human. We might have missed them, right? So yeah, just like I was focusing on taking the rook. I'm like, oh wait, that's actually, I mean, I knew there's something coming. I'm like, oh, do we need to use our rook or something? But no, I mean, obviously queen and bishop combo. If you need to, you can always reroute, but that'll be over quickly because that's.
And Monique, you had your pieces well placed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Despite your rook.
Yeah.
So,
That doesn't
my
matter.
question-
That again, that'll be used quickly enough if you need it. You have enough is preponderance of
Yeah.
material. You didn't need it.
Yeah.
So
So
my question to you, all is, okay, let's imagine that they had not made that mistake with the queen. I mean, do I still
Still
earn a
dominating.
2000?
Yeah, you're
yeah,
still
no,
dominating.
look, you have already done enough. You've already done enough to get there. Now, I don't know. I would assume that let's say you have an opportunity to get +20. You make the +20 0 cent or like plus, you know, what is that? 2,000. Then if you do that, then you get 0 cent upon loss. If you have an opportunity to get +0.1 and you get +0.1, 0 cent upon loss. So the point is, are your moves matching the top computer moves? That's the metric. That's as I understand it. I think that's how it works.
Monique, I think you are
How
in
much
shock.
worse is your move than because obviously your move overall will probably be worse than the computer moves by some degree. How much worse? And the less worse it is, the higher your accuracy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think Monique is in shock that they kicked her up to a 2,000 rating.
No, you should feel good. You should feel good about it.
Is
You
it
feel very
perpetual?
clean.
It feels like she
I
doesn't
am
deserve
in
it.
shock because to me it's if I can get a 2000, that means I can actually get there. See, that's
Yeah, you can.
I love it
think
because
so,
it's
yes.
just a game, one game that has been
Yeah, you
made.
should feel good about it. Yeah, you should feel good. It's inspiring. It's kind of like, for example, let's say you actually beat someone who's a 2000. Well, if you beat
Yeah.
someone who's a 2000, your performance is like whatever, 2,200 or something like that.
Right.
If you draw a 2000, I don't know exactly what it is, but if you draw a 2000,
Yeah, that's a win.
if you beat them, your performance is higher than that. But if you win, but if you're beating that level, then for sure, you know, you can get there. Like when I was beating some international masters, I'm like, okay, I think I can get there. Now I wasn't beating them consistently, but I beat several of them. So at first I got crushed. I was playing in some close tournaments. I kept getting crushed. And then I'm playing at that level competition, and you have to have some strong sparring partners, or that's why you should play in tournaments, because you're tested in that crucible, right? And you become stronger and stronger if you're productive about it. And you have to be able to have self-awareness to know what you are where you can improve. A coach can't tell you that. They can help you, but you have to know, you have to remember what happened and why.
Right.
So, and then you can avoid those pitfalls. You must have that's what helped me to get to the master level. I wasn't actually working with a coach at that time. I did start working with a computer though, but I was just self-aware about it. I obviously worked with a coach a lot in the past, but yeah, just have to be self-aware. Okay, on to the, let's do one more. Who else wants to look at it again? So is
Thank
that,
you so much. Thank
so
you
does
for
that
your
answer your,
feedback.
does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much for your feedback. So David, be
Of course.
ready in a couple of years or maybe a few years for a game with you, and then just watch out for your queen.
Yeah, well, and beyond that, but yeah, and if you beat, well, and it's interesting, yeah, you could beat me in a nuanced way as well if I don't hang my queen, which is more impressive even. But yeah, it's a really nice job. And this, and again, the harder, the more resistance your opponent puts up, the harder it is to get top accuracy, just to be realistic about it. So therefore, if you're playing a 2000, if you draw them, probably even though you drew a 2000, your performance might be a little less than that. No, it could still be 2000. But if you beat a 2000, then your performance might be, or your accuracy might be way higher, you know? So it just depends. It depends on the game, how murky, like Fischer games, for example. The thing about Fischer is I think if I recall, I think his accuracy might be a little lower than Kramnik or Karpov, because they tend to be very solid players, or Petrosian, for example, but they're not as risky though. So if you're gonna take a risk and play complicated positions, now no human's gonna play it all correctly, basically, on a consistent basis, but he understood them better than his opponent. It's like Tall said, take your opponent into the woods, and he could handle it better than them. But you're sent upon loss according to the computer, because the computer would beat you in those positions a lot of times. But if you could beat another human, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Human competition. But your sent upon loss is higher because of the complexity. But then again, you win more games like that. Whereas Karpov drew a bunch of games, but he played boring, somewhat you might say boring chess, but he won consistently. I mean, he would draw / win consistently. Okay, so who wants to look at their game next?
P.S. Monique, I'm going to show my class this game. I really like it.
And I'll send you this. I'm going to send you the link to the study right now. Okay, who else wants to look at a game? You'll do one more.
Go ahead, John.
John, you said something? You want to do it, or someone else?
I don't have a specific game. Actually, I think I played one of the last games I played. I was just terrible, and I ended up with maybe I don't know. I had more pawns than the other person did, but he had a knight, and of course I was losing time, so I was just moving around. But he destroyed me. And through the game, there was a few blunders, but
Well, yeah, we can. And you look at those dips. Well, another interesting thing useful thing about the computer is you look at those dips where you could have kind of, let's say they're way up, right?
yeah,
Or like for black, it would be like, shaded black or dark gray or whatever. And then suddenly it pops up for white. It's like, oh, but if it spikes, it means you didn't make. I like how it does that though, because it means the evaluation at the moment was that it was better or equal or better for you all of a sudden. It spiked in your direction. But if you don't make the move, it spikes right back. Now, if you did make the best move, it'll spike, then it might plateau and go back down again. But to the extent that you make the best moves or strong moves. But if it spikes back down again, that means you missed a win or, yeah, the opportunity to get there or save your position. So those are useful. Those are called critical moments, right? Make or break moments.
Yeah.
Make or draw or break moments at least. Okay, so quickly, let's go ahead and can we do computer analysis, request a computer analysis. So I'm just curious, actually. I hope it doesn't burst. I don't think it'll burst your bubble, but we'll see what Stockfish says or on Lichess. It might be slightly different. And well, that's very strong. You see, smooth trajectory, never really went down. Okay, that's nothing, right? That means you maintained that. That's the most impressive thing, that you were playing well. You had a slight edge. You started gaining. You made some strong moves. They made some weak moves. Well, if it goes up, that means they made an inaccuracy or a blunder, right? Like right here. Then you exploited it, and then you had enough, and you kept it. Even though it's flat, you will see it actually increases plus 5.8, plus 6, and then suddenly it's plus 10, and then mate. Well, as we went beyond it. So, and you'll see that's still pretty good, right? 92% accuracy. But no, it does. I think that's actually similar to what's said on chess.com, right? It's just, it's not giving you like a rating. That's just a thing that chess.com does. But you can see it's very strong. You had 26% of on loss, anywhere around 20 or less, like very, very strong players. 0 blunders, 0 mistakes, 0 inaccuracies. Your opponent had 1 blunder, 1 mistake, 3 inaccuracies. That made all the difference. You're at now, you got an A, they got a C. if you want, if you want to put it in, you know, academics. Okay, so yeah, that's very useful. So probably it sort of verifies that, but you can say the rating is somewhat, you know, they have some algorithm, but somewhat arbitrary, but it gives you a sense. Okay, so
Thank you so much.
great. Okay, sure. So are we taking a look at John's game, or who wants to show a game?
Why don't you go on my site and pick a game?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead. Okay, so we have a search for you, J Barb. There we are. And I'm gonna go on to, you have played for 7 days on the web. That's actually not like super addiction or something. That's, I'm sure some people see 500 days or something. Okay. It's a bit much, but yeah, I'm sure you'll see that for people who play Bullet all the time or something. Okay, probably not healthy. And that's where the opportunity cost. Yeah, what else can you be doing with your life other than playing Bullet all day long? Like similar to people obsessed with video games. Probably not a good idea. Okay, so John, do you recall which game? Well, you won this game. Let's see, one that was reasonably long. 26 moves. 20. Yeah, that's a good range. You got 20 something moves. This one you lost in 10 moves. Well, you missed the mate, it looks like, in that game.
Oh, yeah.
That's all right, it happens. This game, it went how many moves? 54 moves deep into the end game. You played against a 1600. That might be really good to see because you're playing strong player. They just beat you with probably an extra pawn at the end where they promoted maybe. Unless they already had an extra queen. That might be interesting. So, you know, we could flip through the 25-minute game. That's great. You're playing longer games. And Monique, what was your time? Was it 20-minute game or so?
I only played the 30 minutes
30?
because
Okay.
if it is less than 30 minutes, I really don't have the time to really think. So from the beginning, when I started, I only played 30 minutes.
Oh, I know. I think, Nikki, I think she means only in the sense that, I mean, not only as in the amount of time, but that's the only way you do it, right?
Because I
Yeah.
need time. I really need time.
I
When I
understand.
play in tournaments, I actually play through the USCF once a month. I play against like 14 and 1500 and I'm winning. But then I don't have time to finish. So I lose my tempo at the end of the game.
Oh, it's terrible
I
when you
need more
lose
time.
tempo.
And they don't have the 30 minutes. They used to do 30 minutes and 5 games. So I think people complain it was too long, 5 hours. But when it's 15 minutes, I just, you know, I don't have the time mentally to really analyze all my positions.
But you know, you could beat that level. That's very, oh, okay. Yeah. You know what I meant, what you meant, Nikki. Yeah. Just in case. No, you said, wow, in terms of like, I guess you meant in terms of, what do you mean in terms of the fact that she's that disciplined to stick
Yes,
going?
because
Yeah. Okay.
I can't play a slow game to save my life. I only play Blitz and 3-2 and, you know,
Yeah.
like it's
Yes.
like,
Well, you know, it's the first
It's
time in my
helpful.
life I actually have time, like John said. I mean, before, you know, there were the
Yeah.
kids and the work and this and that and the social activities. But now, since the pandemic, that's how I got into chess, is basically there was a pandemic. I was stuck at home. I had to have a hip surgery, but I couldn't go to the hospital because the hospitals were full. So I spent exactly a year and a half at home without going any place, nowhere.
Wow.
And you know, I was crying because normally I go every week to see my grandkids in Orange County, and I couldn't drive, I couldn't walk. So, you know, I thought, what can I do? So after crying for a month every single day, I said, okay, let's find something I have always wanted to do and never had the time. So I said, learn a language. Well, I know a few. Chess. So it came like a flash of light. And then I sat, I lost 100 games. And then after the 100, I won 1 game. And then I said, I'm hooked. That's it. That's what I'll be doing.
That's
and I have not
awesome.
stopped since then.
That's
That's
inspiring.
that's like the best story ever. Like that you lost 100 and you just kept going. You're like, you know what? I was
Yes.
going to keep going. And then you won and you're like, okay, I could do this.
Yes.
That's amazing.
When I decide to do something, it takes me a long time and once I decide, that's it, I do it.
Well, because you played 100 games, you got a lot of experience, and that just boosts your confidence and your play ability.
You're right, but you have to be kind
Right.
of tough because I mean, there was times where I was saying, I mean, I cannot do it. It's impossible. And then, oh, impossible is not French. Okay, so let's move on. And I went on, and then David helped too. I mean, you know, everybody is like helping me in my journey too. Like you, all of you are helping me with your comments. So, you know, it's good. So I'm sorry I'm taking so much time.
No, it's very useful. You know, those YouTube shorts, I'm not very good at them. I'm very low, what's it called? Lo-fi. I don't, again, I don't have enough time with it. I don't have the skills and all that stuff. But
Just
yeah,
do
I've done a couple of the
timestamps.
shorts just for fun. But yeah, Nick, you got me back. I mean, I've done a lot of YouTube, but I'll just, someone recommended me, is like, hey, you probably have a style more for streaming, because I didn't edit my videos and stuff, and the quality wasn't the sound quality. I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll just stream and have fun. And that's not
Yeah.
my thing. And I had to just do my lessons to, it takes a while to actually make a living off streaming, right? You got to be
Right,
good at
right.
it. You got, even if you're really, really good, you got to spend a lot of time, because you might not get
Yes.
differentiated from the
You
crowd.
definitely, you have it though. You could do it.
Thanks, but I don't know. But I don't. Yeah, it takes a long time to see, even if I
I
could.
know, I know.
But anyway, yeah. So I'm very lo-fi about it, but there are YouTube shorts. So I want to take that little bit. It's like 15 seconds or something of it. I'm going to take that inspirational 15 seconds if I have to put it out there. Good stuff. If you don't mind, Monique, I'll just take the voice, 15 seconds, and can blast it out there. Get it into the world, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, if we can, well, whatever I can fit in from that. Okay, little highlights. So John, which one? Do you want to look at the long game? I mean, we don't have to, you want to spend a ton of time on the whole thing, but maybe toward, critical moments and stuff for 54 moves. That sounds like a real good game. And I think they're the highest rated player that I'm seeing here. Because, well, 1500, you never know, because that's right around the starting rating that they get.
Yeah. No.
No, but they've settled there because they're not moving a lot. But at the beginning, they'll swing a lot, right? 1500 defaults. Okay, so you're playing like 1300s, 1200s, a 1600, and that might have been the one where you're down a piece. 27 moves. That might have been the one you're talking about, yeah, where you're down a piece.
Maybe, yeah.
Huh.
Well,
But
yeah,
I think actually the other one looks quite interesting. The one where
Hey,
you play the
you pick
16.
one.
Why don't we look at the 1600 game? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Unless it was decided by one mistake or something. But either way, we'll get a sense. I mean, out of that many moves, we'll certainly see how you're playing. That's interesting though. So they were doing a little better, but you see the spikes. You see how it spikes
Whoa.
downward. That means that you
Whoa,
could have been
yeah.
you could have been okay. Plus 0.9, again, advantage for them, but not decisive. And that's where the computer thinks over a long period of time. So generally speaking, you might be able to be okay there. And then look at that. Boom. It just dropped. The nadir down there was -6. So meaning you stuck with it for like 2 moves, but then something happened where they came back. And then from there they just took over and they had an upward slope, and then they're winning 74 points, whatever.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's probably
so
running in this
there's a
game.
few moments in the opening though, up to move 12,
Yeah.
or you could have been okay. Something happened there. So let's focus on those moments at least, even despite the length of the game. You don't have to look at everything, but we'll just this part. We'll see the trajectory, but even here, for example, this is +1. That means you're still certainly in the game. Now here it's +1.8, but once you get here, it's tough. +3, +4, right? But that's basically when they're winning, +3 or something like that. And look at that, you have 75% accuracy. According to this, they have 77% accuracy. And again, there's resistance here. So it was a close game. So it's hard to have very high accuracy over, again, average cent of loss. A lot of moves you got to play accurately to keep that low. In other words, to have high accuracy. And you made 3 blunders, they made 2 blunders. See, those are the moments where it spiked. Okay, let's check it out. You guys ready? Oh wait, so I'm gonna take this game and let's see, where is that? Wait, I think I can add it if I recall. Study. Yeah, my studies. I'm gonna go ahead and here we go. As you can see, I have a lot of studies. Okay. And there we go. Cool. And it's in there. Okay, so let's check it out. You guys see it now?
Yes.
All right, let me just get in on the game there. Okay. So they're playing a Scotch. Okay, the main move is to take. That's interesting. I don't know the line. So you're threatening their e-pawn. I assume they should probably just take you and get the space advantage. You'll take them, and then your knight's a little out there, right? I assume that should be strong for them. We can double, and that's where I would double check. Wait a second. They could possibly push. Let's say they push and take your pawn. That might be strong, actually. Let's say you move this one. No, I mean, they take your pawn, you take their pawn, as long as you cover the e-file. It's a little dangerous, but the other way it can go is, I think my instinct would be to, if it were me, I'd probably take the pawn with white then the knight takes, and black has a loose knight and white has a space advantage. So, I mean, even a move, well, I don't know, like, let's say bishop goes to d3, you can defend it with d5, and I don't think white really wants to take on passant because the knight just takes back safely, and the space advantage is gone. Hey, maybe black doesn't want to walk into this. Just to give you an idea, maybe you can try to, it's actually a little tricky. Bishop e6, you get hit by it. Anyway, knight g5 hits bishop e6, but I'm thinking if you can castle queen side. Castling king side actually does look a little dangerous, but no, check this out. Bishop f5, let's trade it off, or bishop g4, trade it off. Oh, now we're looking at the queen. Let's say they don't want to trade queens. Okay, and then we're going to castle either way. So it could be okay. Maybe I'm missing something. Computer, just a sample line. What does the computer say? Oh, it says, okay, +1. Maybe I didn't find the best sample line, but let's see. So, anyway, I think this is strong for white to take. That's the best move, it says. Yeah. So again, we could verify. Takes, knight takes. I said bishop d3, but as I said, bishop d3 is not the best because you use d5. So it's just saying bishop c4 and strike at f7. Again, this d5 or d6. Let's say d6 says the best move, and now we can check, and it can get the pawn back. It gets the pawn. I mean, it gets the piece back with a fork. Saying a take, and then are they just up a pawn? Yeah, they just up a
Not looking
pawn.
happy.
No, your king's exposed, and interestingly enough, it says +1, which is like an edge for white, but not winning.
Right.
Yeah, you can survive. Let's say h6. I mean, it looks very poor from a human perspective. It looks like it's losing, but of course, the computer will find some
Right.
miraculous g5, g5.
Right.
Wow. Okay, d5, d5.
Or march the king
Just
over
interesting.
like some weird spot.
Yeah, it's just interesting. No, you castle by hand, probably. This is strange. Like and then this amateurish looking move night before. But yeah, this is more natural. Castles, and we castle by hand. Yeah, I would do this. I would play rook f8. Why not? It really likes these advancing moves. That's quite interesting. Well, I mean, it drives the queen away. And then can we finally castle by hand? I mean, you have more center than them. But if it were me, I would. See, again, that's a computer move, and I'm very skeptical. I would play rook f8. And then you can verify, oh, there's
Oh,
something
it's still
annoying.
good.
Yeah, it's fine. Let's say they go here, I tuck my king away. Say they go here to look at my pawn, and oh, wait, the bishop's hanging, duh. The moment you castle by hand, the bishop's hanging. So let's say okay, fine. I mean, I would just say bishop here.
Hey, what's that? What's up? What's up with that?
The queen move?
She.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's weird, yeah, because it's hitting the bishop. Then the bishop,
Oh, I see.
then the bishop can just move. See, it's more, and then they're threatening bishop takes h6, so you play king h8. And now it's saying +2, meaning a big advantage, but not over yet. But yeah, no, I don't know. So it's saying it's just weird, but let's just say they do something natural like this, then suddenly it's like, okay, again, like if you're +1, they're in the game. Anyway, that's just a sample line just to play around with it. Probably prune this down and delete some. But but the point is, this is pretty much, you could say it's a mistake because this is a good move. And then, and oops. So not d5 is not really the move. That's like third best, it says. But like I said, just take it, and black's going to have some problems there. Maybe knight g4 to try to take that. But yeah, the knight's loose. So you can see, why is it a mistake? So wait. Oh, I meant this is a good move for white. And then white should have, let's just say, yeah, white has a good attack. Knight takes e4. And then you could say, what was the best move? It was saying bishop c4, for example. And then I would promote that line. And then we have some other stuff, but bishop c4, just say, and then you can add this. So why is it better? You can say, and white has a nice position out of the opening due to this loose knight on e4 combined with the space advantage that the e5 pawn provides, something like that, right? So you just have a sense, like, so if you look back, like, and also it would kind of put it in context, right? Like, this is what's important here. Yeah, but again, +1 means white has an edge, but not winning, right? Okay, so bishop g5. So it says, actually, this is not the best move. Why not? Because you could take the pawn. So as you should, though, that's the preferred move, John. In the Scotch, just take the pawn, and it says you're even. And knight takes, and then you have various options. Knight f6, bishop c5, main stuff. but bishop c5 is fine. They often go bishop e3, I think, and then you can play queen f6, put a lot of heat on them. They go c3. There's like a queen g6 line that I've shown my students. It's very annoying for them because you're attacking this pawn. Here, I'll move this. I'll get rid of this. You're attacking this pawn on e4, and you're attacking g2. So it's kind of hard for them to develop, right? G2 is hanging if the bishop defends. You can probably take that. So you can see that this is one way to play, and also and also if they can go knight f6. And again, well, you can check the opening book real quick. There's the opening book you can verify as well. So you can use the opening book. You can look at GM games down there, or strong players. You see a lot of draws by strong players, masters, GMs, world champion, Magnus, and Carl and Kasparov and so forth. But you can see a lot of them like this. I've actually seen a Kasparov win like this. And then you can just check what they did. You can see what the computer thinks. But yeah, they pretty much go, let's say bishop c4. Oh, that's hanging. Do you want to take? But the main line, what was the main line? I think it's take, and then e5. But e5, and then it's like queen e7. That's the main move. They have some interesting stuff. Queen e2, knight d5. There's like a c4 bishop a6 line pinning that. So, and it says it's even. And you could see like white maybe scored tiny bit better, like 24 versus 21 and so forth. So this is interesting, right? So this is complicated, but I think that it's very straightforward when they play Scotch. You could just go bishop c5 or queen f6, probably interchangeable. And the idea is that after bishop here, you have queen f6 and you put a lot of heat on them, right? And then I like queen g6. That's knight g7. Queen g6 scores 34% black, 31% white. So it looks good to me among master games. And also, I guess they can try knight b3, and then you tuck your bishop back, and about, yeah, it says about even. And black scores okay. Maybe white scores a tad better, but does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, that's just another way. It's important though, because otherwise you'll find yourself, if they play correctly, in some trouble here, because it says +1, and obviously they have a good amount of pressure on you. Okay, so let's look at what happened. Oh, see, that's where they're going after. They're trying to make you move the knight so they could take this e-pawn. But then again, their e-pawn's hanging. So I think this might work out well for you. Now, interestingly, when they take e7, you got to take back with your knight. I think so. Am I missing something? That's where you lost your piece. Yeah, John, why do you have to take back with the knight here? I mean, pretty straightforward, but why do you need to do that, guys?
Well, to keep the knight. I mean,
Yeah.
keep material.
So it's not a problem, actually. You get the pawn, because if they take, well, let's say they take here, you can choose which one to take with. Let's say you take with the knight to preserve your bishop. I don't really care if they take b7 because the bishop develops. Is the pawns are equal, yeah? No, you're up a pawn, actually. No, they could get back. If they take, you're doing great. You have a bishop. Look at those bishops streaming in, and you're up a pawn 7-6. That's a great position. Computer, you could verify, does the computer like it? I'm pretty sure it's going to like it. -4. Wow. So again, like that's drastic for a human. For me, I say, oh, it's a nice position. Black has a great game. Up a pawn, bishop pair. Well, he's up 2 tempos too, 2 tempi, right? Got the center. Yeah. So it's obviously a massive advantage. Now, computer would just win this handily, right? For a human, you got some work to do. White can create.
Yeah.
But that's it. No, that's actually really strong though. Look at the bishop aiming at g2. Can't do anything really. And then the queen's probably coming out. Probably, don't castle queen side because it's a little more open. Just castle king side. You know, you can use the B file. You can push your pawns in the middle, and they're going to get crushed most likely. Okay. So that's kind of like when they have the pawn on e5. It's a better version of that, reversed. Okay. But now you see, look, it says you're doing fine. You take back. They probably take your pawn here. You kick them out of there. They have to go back. Maybe get your bishop out. Yeah, and you have an excellent game because you're pinning them, and you have 3 pieces out. They have 1 piece out. So something happened where they wasted a lot of time. What happened here? Well, you didn't waste any time. You move your e-pawn. You develop your knights. They waste another move with d5. It didn't really matter. You spend 1 move to take a pawn, create a threat. They take you. Your knight just moves. But they've spent a lot of moves capturing things and advancing their pawn. They have to capture again, right? They spend another move. Then you get this in with tempo, because you move your pawn with tempo. They move back. Then you develop your bishop with a pin. And then you just have a nice, it's, you know, this says -0.2. I think it's more than that, right? I think it's better than that. So in other words, it's saying you have a minuscule edge. I think, well, they have space advantage here, but that's actually could become a liability. So from a human perspective, I'd be super happy to have this position with the black pieces. So in my mind,
Yes.
I'd expect it to be more like a -1. In other words, a substantial, solid edge, not just
Yeah.
better. So
Yes, because he hasn't developed his pieces on the back rank yet.
yeah, you just have 2 extra pieces out. You have a pin. He theoretically has a bad bishop, but I mean, you could be like, why is that? I don't understand. And you can go like this. You can click on the top move that it gives, just to, again, sample line. I don't know if most people would play f5. Probably knight c5 is more feasible. Castles, sure, and then maybe, oh, I clicked whatever. It's, you see, it's oscillating. Okay, you castle, they castle. I would kind of want to. It's saying I would kind of want to take the bishop and get rid of it.
Me too.
Let's just say it's not even looking at that. That's kind of strange. I would maybe consider it. Maybe you help the queen develop so they could bring
Yeah.
up. But
That's a nice
But-
night.
no, look, it's looking at it now.
Oh, okay.
It's saying it's all even. But again, for my, well, let's see. It likes a6, which is sort of strange. Maybe queen d7. It's saying a6. I don't know. Let's just say you do the thing we're looking at. Even here, I guess they finished their development now. And you're a little squeezed. I suppose that's why it's minimizing your advantage in the other line. And even here, well, it's even basically plus 0.2, minus 0.2. It thinks it's even. I guess, yeah. Once you see, you look at a line, now you can play around more if you're really not convinced. But yeah, I guess you can see that they sort of gain a tempo, and the move that it gives is f5. Why not? That actually looks kind of cool. I sort of like that. So you thought about, I wouldn't have thought about it really. I think it looks weakening. But again, this is computer moves versus human moves, right? I mean, I'd think about it after a bit. Like I like the Dutch type setups. They come here, you can castle. Yeah, oh wait, this is actually, you're sacking a pawn, it looks like. But why? Let's see. Well, you have a lot of play. I mean, you got a lot of play on the king side. Maybe you hope to get your knight in here. Let's see what it like. If the G4, if G4 happens. Let's see. Oh yeah, you're going after the bishop. Now, okay, you're basically hanging your bishop. What's going on? Check.
What kind of craziness
is-
is this?
Some
I see.
computer line,
Okay.
and then you get the knight back. Wait, it's saying you hang this one, but it's pinned.
Madness.
Attack you, and then you probably take, and then ultimately you have a better position with like what, an extra pawn?
And your pawns are happier.
No, you don't have an extra pawn, but yeah, your pawns are nice. That's, see, there's a computer line. Now that's very much a computer line. It's like, wait, is that worth it to hang the bishop? You'd have to see pretty deeply to understand.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, then again, there are problems on the bishop on the E file with the bishop on the E file. But yeah, anyway, very interesting stuff, but just gives you a sense that F5, here's what I would say. Interesting computer move. No, it's an interesting move. So that's where it's not clear, but for a human, I think that's very interesting. F5. So anyway, this, so I would going back, say, yeah, this is pretty much main taking. Well, yeah, taking here, I would just note for you, this is main line of the Scotch. Okay. So now you know, you can review that. And there's a lot of lines there, but what you can do is you can go down here and like, oh, what do the top players do? Oh, look, there's a lot of wins for black. Great. How did Wesley So win? Okay. Wesley So beats Carlsen. Let's click on that. So this is more about the opening this game, at least so far, because you got in trouble out of the opening, right? So this is the key moment, or the next few moves. So I would go ahead, I can insert it or cite it. Citing it's a little neater. It's like a footnote. So you can go
Really
ahead.
cool.
Yeah, it's very nice. I think it has more functionality than chess.com. That's why I love these. Very easy.
Yeah.
Some people looked at the game and are saying, hi, bro. Multiple people found this game because it's one of the highest rated games.
Oh, because Wesley So.
And you can just see again, here's how he does it. Wesley So beats Carlsen. That's weird. Maybe you can look at it and see this is a blitz game. It's a little strange. But I mean, it's okay. You can see it's still no problem. He's a little more compact than Carlsen. Pretty bold though to play sort of strangely like that. He gets it. Keep in mind there's the pin. But again, I would just flip through to see what setup he adopts. You don't need to read a book to be like, oh, let me just see what top players do. Okay, this just gets bizarre. It's kind of a bizarre line. What is going on? So he's giving him the D pawn to get the B pawn, but he invades with the rook, and White's king is exposed a little bit. And that's why he probably gets in trouble. Only move, he's got to cover F3 and well, especially F2. Then he tucks his knight back. Equal material, but clearly he has superior heavy pieces. Trades it off. Here comes the bishop. Oh, clean up the pawn. Mop it up. And he's down 2 pawns for nothing. So I guess he resigns. Interesting. And you can see I think you can check the details as well. Where are the details? It doesn't say, no, over here, it doesn't say anything. I'm not sure if it has the details somewhere of where the game was played. If you pull it up on like chessgames.com, sometimes on chess.com, it should show you somewhere, but not here, I guess. Anyway, but you can see that it was about even, very even, and then Wesley started taking over. Okay, so that's just to give an example. So going back to what actually happened, but now you have that at your disposal. And John, I'm going to add you as well. So we have Jay Barb. So now you are both contributors since we looked at your game, so you can always come back to it and you could delve into it further. Okay, so that's important because that's what happened in the opening. And then really that's it. So then I would write down blunder. Now, not to be too harsh, but that's your blunder, right? So there was basically inaccuracy in the opening, but you were fine. So often, especially if you're not like a master, expert level, a lot of times that doesn't matter that much. Even for masters, they can mess up in the opening, but they could come back. So your time to come back was around here with knight takes and you're doing well, right? So now we saw the ways in which that could go, and we're going to see your piece down. But even there, it looked like you had a chance to come back. So even, obviously you don't want to be in a position where you're down a piece, but Lasker would often have terrible positions, the second world champion, to come back. Okay, so I know you guys probably have to go as round 2, right? But we'll just look at the rest real quick. Unless you have to, I know, Lynn, you had to go about 2 last time, right?
Yes,
You got to get going, or you want to see for a couple minutes?
I'll stay for a couple more minutes.
Yeah, let's just see what happened. But I think we saw the key moment. Now the next key moment will be, how do you come back from a +6? Let's just get rid of that though. We're going to figure it out. I mean, you're just playing well. Yeah. Pretend like you didn't lose any material, right? Guard your pawn, make a free pawn. Oh, might get the C pawn. Don't trade queens. Excellent. Not trading like Monique's opponent. And you can learn lessons from the bad things that your opponents do. Now, this is interesting because you have the doubled pawns, but you have the F file coming. And I think if you combine castling, F file play again, I'm still treating this as a regular game because, you have to fight on here. If they attack your bishop, you can guard it with rook b8. You can castle. Your queen covers e6, which is useful. You got F file. You're going to play c5, probably open up your bishop here. And like Monique's game, you might go ahead and pick up their H pawn because that's loose. That's
Yeah.
there if they're not careful. Maybe I'd probably try and prop my rook up on f4. Maybe get my queen e8 to g6, obviously. Maybe the bishop can get it out of the way and attack that way. Or play c5 and like stick it on, c6 or something, and you should be fine. I'd castle first, get off that check option, get away from the checking possibilities, and you should be fine. Well, fine as you can be with the material deficit. Okay, you're guarding that. Excellent. Castles. I mean, they could take your A pawn. It's kind of not that big of a deal. Now, what you have to watch out for, yeah, you don't want to play this move because you let the knight in and you'd weaken the E pawn. So that would be so this is a great move. C5 exclamation mark. Because you're letting your bishop out. You are attacking the knight. Oh, and you got your piece back.
Nice.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, and now you're probably ahead. There you go. Now you're winning. So you say the tide has turned, right? The tide has turned. Nice. I guess I would say, great example of maintaining your composure and
Yeah.
playing as if you're not even down material, which is very important, especially if you're just a pawn down, no matter what. Because your opponent, they are human, but it may make a mistake, but don't act like you're lost because then you're not going to come back. Now you have a good chance of coming, or if you just play desperately, if they find you're probably gonna lose, but now you're winning. You got a ton of, look at that cluster of pawns, massive pawns. Now you're about to destroy their
Little
kings.
box of pawns.
Oh, what?
It looks like a little box of jacks. Or
Yeah, but I lose them all.
oh,
Well, you have this pressure. You have queen b2 stuff. You have queen d8. Get the knight out of there and take here. Yeah, I think even pretty much winning is just queen d8 because they can't go g3 and defend it. So you're pretty much just going to take the h pawn like Monique did. Also queen b2. If the knight moves, you're going to take this one with the rook or the queen. Just watch out for your back rank a little bit, but it's a winning position. Beautiful, beautiful position. Unfortunately, you lost it, but hey, you know you can get there. Oh, that's probably a good attempt. Aha, and they came right back. Oh no. And there they are again. Yeah. So basically they blundered. They made a blunder and you made a blunder. So they were like, so it flipped a couple times, flipped like 3 times. So I was just watching out piece awareness for both of you. The first one was the trickiest one, but the second one, this one and the next one were just examples of not watching out for the hanging pieces. So just be careful there. But even now you have a slew of pawns. You can still fight on, but yeah. So keep it simple. They go here. And again, maybe you're focused on E6 or here. And you think, oh, they want to attack me. Let me trade off the queens, right? Why do you think you didn't? Did you know you were looking forward perhaps of the night, not looking backwards? Like what I feel like there's some resembles Monique's game a little bit. What do you why do you think? Is it because you were focused on the night going forward and not backwards?
Yeah, I have no idea.
It happens. But just remember,
Yeah.
well, your
Yeah.
bishop's loose. Anytime your bishop's loose, you got to watch out.
What would have been a good move for black now?
Just move your bishop away, bishop somewhere. Just, I mean, I would just stick my bishop. Oh, this is hanging. My first inclination was bishop f5. That's fine. You guard your pawn, and then you boot the knight out.
Yeah.
But even if you hang the pawn, like let's say you go here, they take the pawn, kick them out of there. They go back, kick them out again. Oh, now you're gonna get something out of this. I think they go here, you take. They go here, you take. They gotta go here. And now we go here, and now we're good again. We're doing great. That's hanging here, maybe, and that's probably game over, right? Oh, wait. Oh no, they have one check, no problem. And then I think it's game over because I don't. Just have to be careful that knight check doesn't do anything. Have to be a little careful, but you're coming in. Very cool. So computer says minus what? -7, -8. So yeah, that was again, we didn't need the computer. Well, I'm curious. Let's see what it says though. You can just cross check it. Because I'm not sure. I think bishop a8 or bishop f5. Let's see what it says. It agrees.
That's gotta be bishop f5.
It says both actually. It says
Really?
bishop f5.
Oh, because of the mating attack. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, this is
Take
more.
the pawn, whatever.
That's kind of a human move because yeah, mating attack. But bishop f5. Yeah, this is my first inclination. Just guard, but they're all good. And then bishop g6 is no fun. That's not a fun move to me. It's more passive. I like bishop f5, but I prefer bishop a8 because you can abandon as it shows. Let's see if it agrees with all the moves. Yep, rook f6, straightforward, knight back, h6. Yep, and then rook g6. So you can see it agrees with the sample line actually.
Yeah.
And then check, and then here, and
That's
winning.
exactly what you said. Yeah.
Cool. But that's a straightforward line. So queen e8. And now it only gives them +1 point something. Okay, +2 point something. Well, but you have all these pawns, so I bet you still have maybe one. Well, let me check. You can look at the computer analysis again. Let it be your friend, not your, not the source of your confusion, right? Oh, I think did Lynn head off? You're still okay. We'll finish up though, because I know you got to go. But yeah, you can just quickly check, and you can see. No, at that point, I think we're here, right? Where the red line is. I think at that point, it's +1.4, but then next few moves. So it's saying by move, let's say by move 31, you're on move 24. So within like 7 or 8 moves, it's beginning to shift. But you still have a fighting chance. Like if they give me that pawn, yeah, I think so. Because well, let's see here. You can't defend your pawn anyway, so you may as well take this. They take, you take.
So what was the move that made him have this drastic shift?
When he's going from this one to actually fully losing. After
No,
this,
when the arrow of the chart goes deep down.
right around here. Well, he hung his bishop.
Yeah.
But earlier, oh, you mean in his favor? In his favor was when their opponent hung their piece, and then he returned this, and then that's where when it goes down for black right here, right?
Right.
Yeah, he's winning now because he has it. Well, he has all he had compensation for the piece because he had the doubled F pawn. The doubled E pawns are great. The doubled C pawns are great. This is a great example of doubled pawns. I love it. And then this happens in a Roy Lopez or Italian game sometimes. Somebody takes the E6 or E3 bishop, boom, get the nice cluster of pawns. Don't move your D pawn, it'll weaken your E pawn and your C pawn. Just leave it. It's great. It's like a pawn chain with some assistance. some helpers next to it, clustered, solid, keeping their piece. Doubled pawns also keep their pieces at bay. You get to come in, but they don't. One-way mirror kind of thing, one-way street. And yeah, pressure on F3, pressure here coming, pressure on F2 coming, B file under tension. Okay, so they have to give you the B file now because the bishop's covering B1, so it's winning now, yeah. And then it's not winning, but it's still maybe tenable. At least it's a fighting. At least you can fight. You're down to, what do we have right now? We have 4, right? Currently we have, what do we have? Wait, do we have all our pawns? We have all our pawns.
Yeah.
So we're down 2 points. Yeah, we're down a point. And now it says plus 1.4. So basically what it's saying is materially, it means like they're up a point and a little, and then some, because it is a knight. But sometimes those pawns, but I think I agree with what you did. You take the pawn, they take. You take the pawn, they take. You cover. Makes sense to me. Because if they take you, you should take this way. And then, oh, you took the wrong way. That's all it was. Because if you take this way with the E pawn, you have 2 passed pawns.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I would have
you
done the
one
same
pass.
thing. Oh my God.
Yeah. Take toward the center, but this is where you should take. And we verify, but I think it says dubious here. Right? If you say dubious, it says inaccuracy.
That's a good
Now, if you
lesson.
look at the difference. Yeah. So that's an
Wow.
important moment. So yeah, then I would say E takes D4. This is a very important moment. So
Yep.
exclamation marks are here, and I'd say last chance to stay in the game. This creates 2 connected passed pawns, which may even be able to beat the knight if they're not careful. At the very least, it generates a ton of counterpoint, right?
And I'm sorry, what did John, what did you do?
He took the other way. So he took this way, but then he doesn't have it. See, now he doesn't have enough really. But if he takes this way, it's very complicated because now he has 2 connected back. And interestingly, the back pawn, I sometimes call like an accordion of pawns when they're like this sometimes, but the backward pawn, the pawn, base of the pawn chain, it's an interesting kind of just like zigzagging, but it holds the C pawn and that holds the D pawn. So they can kind of work together. Like this pawn might push to D5 to support C4 and that supports C3 and so on. So it's very difficult actually. Oh, the computer generated a line here. Auto generated a line. Oh, that's uncomfortable. They're going to win that pawn. They're going to win something back. Well, they have the passed A pawn. Yeah, so if they play it accurately, oh, check that out. And then you have another option to push these pawns.
Wow.
If they're not careful, they got it. When you get here, they have to play G3 to lock it down. But they can really mess this up, especially if they're not like in a 1800, 2000. Anyone can, but especially if they're not very strong in the end game.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
This can certainly flip. Even here, it's just +3. It's not like it's done yet. What's that?
He knew what he was doing. I kept trying things, but he was just
but you didn't. This would have been the test for him. See, this would have been the real test for him. So that was your best chance. So you had a few chances. That's kind of how games tend to be lost. It's not one mistake, it's 2 or 3 mistakes,
Yeah.
right? Because you both make mistakes, you're human. And again, that's where club level games are pretty fun because they tend to flip a lot, But yeah, then you see, then they lock it down and they're winning pawns and they finish it off using the extra knight and there's not much more to see. Pass pawn and you resign, assuming they could finish. Or you lost on time, it looks like. Hey, great games, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Yeah,
about
very good game.
One
Yeah,
question,
final thoughts on that?
John.
Yeah.
When you won the piece back, did you feel like you had a sigh of relief, like and then you felt like you're back in it, and then maybe that's why you lost it back right away? Because I tend to do that.
Yeah, I think now that there was the rook and there was the queen. I think it was really focused on maybe forking those 2, but trying to figure out how. And then I just somehow lost that bishop. And then I didn't know what to do. But no, usually if I'm playing, if I win something, I don't start losing like, oh yes, I got this. I just keep focused on what I'm doing, and
Nice.
I make my blunders. I just keep playing until I can't do anything else.
Sometimes you do have to shift gears and be like, okay,
Yeah.
I got to work even harder.
Yeah.
I'm coasting now. I'm just coasting. It's nice, but you don't want to coast too much.
Yeah.
Put your foot on the brake a little bit sometimes. Slow down a little bit. Be like, okay.
Yeah.
Don't get too excited. It's easy to get too excited, but it seems like you don't. But in that case, not even excited, but just a little more cautious sometimes. keep your eye, because like, look, I got this, but I just, not let it
Yeah,
slip away.
don't mess up. Don't mess up. That's what I
Yeah.
always tell myself.
My biggest
I think-
fault is calculation tree, and I have to really take my time and focus more. I
Yeah,
know
but sometimes, a lot of times it's just one move ahead, really, one or two moves
Yeah.
ahead. You don't have to, you could play great chess like that, sometimes you look more, but a lot of times it's like, especially as you're getting, into the mid thousands level, like 12, 13, 4, especially to go beyond 1,000. A lot of that is just don't hang pieces. Don't give them a checkmate. Don't hang pieces. Just do your
Right.
thing, control the center, kind of connect your pieces, keep them working together, and you'll get plus 1,000 plus. And you learn some, learn your forks and your pins and your checkmates, and you should get beyond 1,000. Of course, they're not gonna make it easy, but yeah, you should get there. But then and then you got to work on your finishing, your end game technique and stuff to move beyond like 14, 15, 1600, a little more positional understanding, better end game technique, better openings, and all those things combined, learning how to outplay your opponent, maintaining your advantage, converting your advantage, preventing their counterplay. That's what will get you closer to 2,000. And then you kind of figure out where your limit is. Like some people just keep going. Some people are like, all right, I'm an A-class player. I'm happy. I made it to expert, but if you make it to like 1,800 or something, that's still really strong, So it just depends how much time you devote, your understanding of the game and stuff. But yeah, you keep getting coached and you work hard and you could keep going, I didn't make it to Grandmaster, and very few people do, right? But everyone reaches their limit somewhere, but there's definitely always potential to keep pushing and make it to that next like 100 points. You just have to keep working at it. Nice job, guys.
David, you can still get
David,
to
and
become a
thanks,
grandmaster.
Monique
Thank
and
you so
John, for
much.
sharing.
Have a great
All right.
weekend, everybody. Thank you so
All
much.
right, you all
Take
too.
care, you
And
too.
to all
All right.
mothers
Mother's
on
Day.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
bye.
Bye, guys. And I'll stop the recording. And I think, okay.